We are in the microbiology lab at Kapiolani Community College with my colleague, Professor John Berstecki.
Hi, Henry.
Hi. How's it going today?
Very good.
Pretty good. Wait till you see these things.
I can't wait.
We're now going to check the samples that I took to see what's growing and to see if Shig happened. The first thing we have are these plates from my neck and from my nose. Oh. And John, you might want to check this out.
Yeah, I've looked at them a little bit already. Why don't you tell me what you did with these plates, Henry? What are these?
Well, we had a sterile swab. I dipped it in some water and did a little swab around my nose, and then I did another swab in water and did by my neck, right behind my ear. Mm-hmm.
So I see this is your nose and this is your neck. I see.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
All right. So what we have here is a type of medium called mannitol salt agar, and it's selective for the group of organisms known as the Staphylococcus. This was kind of a loaded little exercise that I gave you, because I pretty much expected that I was going to find staph on these plates when you brought them to me. It's really common for people to have staph in their noses, behind their ears, around their lips, on their neck, in their belly buttons, under their armpits, and even in some secret areas on their bodies. Because it is a normal part of the human flora, as we call it, it's very easy for these organisms to get into the food, which might happen, for instance.
And that's why we want to protect against cross-contamination.
That's exactly. And so what I'm looking at here, if you can see this, and I'm hoping the camera can show this, is there are a number of colonies all over the place. Now, this is from your nose. I would say there are easily maybe between 1,000 and 2,000 colonies on here, especially back in this area here, which is really, really loaded with colonies. So that small sample that you took from your nose, and then a portion of that sample went on the plate, because a lot of it still stayed on the swab, it didn't come off, dropped about 2,000 organisms on this plate.
Oh, God.
Now,
so this is basically the same kind of thing that would happen if someone, say, like, tasted with a spoon and then put it back into the food?
Exactly right.
They'd be
exactly right. It's a really common way of getting staph into food. Tasting your food and putting that spoon back into the food. All right, so what do we have here, Henry? What are these?
Okay, so what I did here was the one that you have. This one is the sample of the cutting board that the turkey was on.
Ooh.
And this one here was a sample of the towel that I was using to wipe my hands when I was cutting the turkey up, and also to wipe the cutting board.
All right. So you had a cutting board, and the cutting board, I assume, was disinfected or
as
nice
clean,
and clean before you started?
sanitized as an anal retentive chef can get.
All right. And so then you took a raw turkey, a big old turkey, and you just laid it down on top there, and you did your thing.
I was cutting them up.
Yeah, and then you came around with your swab, and you took a sample, and you put it on this medium.
That's what I did.
All right, now these plates here are what we call EMB plates, and these plates are specific for fecal coliforms, or fecal-derived organisms. That's about all that grows on these things. So when you see colonies, like you can on these plates,
oh man, woohoo!
Yeah. Very fecal. Yeah, just about.
That's like some really good cheese.
Yeah. All right, and so that's pretty much to be expected on raw flesh, poultry, beef, pork, lamb. You're going to expect a fair amount of fecal contamination, because that's actually part of the slaughtering process.
Okay.
Is to have fecal contamination there. They wash it off, but you're still going to have a lot of organisms hanging on to the tissues.
Okay.
And
so you can eat a certain amount of this?
No, actually you don't want to eat any of it.
Okay,
what you want to do is you want to kill it.
Right,
and
right.
the way you kill it, of course, is by cooking it.
Cooking it.
And that's really part of the purpose of cooking, is not only to make the food taste better and, and have all the wonderful flavors that you have, but also to kill the nasty organisms that might be on it. And that's
Cook that turkey to at least 165 Fahrenheit. Okay, so now these two plates are from the same sponge. It's two different mediums.
Oh yeah, we have a blood agar plate, and something called TSA, which is these are two general purpose media which allow everything to grow. And what I see here is basically what we would call too many to count. There are so many organisms on here that they don't even really represent colonies anymore. You can see it probably best on this. There's just a huge swath of organisms. They've all just kind of grown together. A few colonies off to the side that kind of splattered when you did your culturing. This is also what I would expect to see on a sponge, particularly if it's been in use for a while.
It has.
Yeah, it's got a lot of nooks and crannies, little holes in it and stuff like that. Organisms can hang out.
I don't even
nice
like
and,
using a sponge.
Yeah, it's nice and moist. It hangs on to food particles. Organisms love to grow in sponges. Unfortunately, sponges are very convenient as cleaning items. You know, they're very useful that way. So you need to think of ways to decontaminate them.
Yeah, well, I throw them away.
Throw them away is a good way.
When she who must be obeyed is not looking.
Oh, yeah. So you're following orders, I see. Well, the other way is to microwave for, you know, for short periods of time.
I've done that too, but I ended up with a melted mass of rubber
well, that's what
in
you
my
have
microwave.
to worry about. Yeah, you don't want to cause a fire or burn down your house because you're trying to kill off the organisms. It'll work.
That'll kill them.
That'll kill them.
That'll show those
but just a short blast, get the sponge steamy hot.
Basically, what this comes down to is that no matter how anal retentive a chef you are, no matter
good
how
choice of words, yeah.
no matter how clean you keep your kitchen, you always need to watch out for cross-contamination and time and temperature of use.
That's right. Yeah. And the other thing is that microbes are ubiquitous, and the foods that you bring in the kitchen,
they're everywhere.
They're everywhere, yeah. And the foods you bring in your kitchen are going to be contaminated, and you are contaminated.
I am.
The cook is contaminated, and these are all sources of possible food infections. So be safe, cook safe.
Well, John, thanks. Thanks for
You're very
helping
welcome.
me with this. And I'm going to come back, and we're going to visit John again when we find out how much bourbon it takes to kill the salmonella in fresh eggnog that you make with the fresh yolk.
That sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun.
We're going to have a lot of fun doing that experiment. And now for the stuffing. I learned a lot of my cooking techniques from Julia Childs. A little bit of sherry for the dressing, a little bit of sherry for the cook. That's very good. Now the thing is, the big question always, that I always get is, should you stuff the turkey or should you cook the dressing outside of the turkey in a separate pan? Well, I'm a proponent of leaving the turkey empty. And why is that? Because what was in that cavity, that hole that you're putting the stuffing in, the stuffing that acts like a sponge, by the way, that was the guts inside that turkey. And what's in the guts? Shig is in the guts. And you know what? Shig happens, and you don't want shig to happen at your Thanksgiving dinner. So I say, why take the chance? And some people may be saying now, well, does this mean I'm going to get my family sick? I've never gotten them sick before by doing this. Well, no, it doesn't mean you're going to get them sick. But again, I say, why take the chance? I say, put the dressing into a separate pan and then baste it with the turkey juice as the turkey is cooking. And if you insist on stuffing your turkey, I say cook the dressing first, make sure it's nice and hot, then put it into the turkey, and then cook the turkey and the dressing to 165 degrees. So now it looks like the turkey is completely cooked, and you can see those Szechuan peppercorns make it nice and brown along with the shoyu. Also, you can see that the little button has popped out, which is the turkey industry's way of saying this turkey is done. But you really want to make sure that it's done, so you should be taking the temperature. What? You don't have a thermometer yet? Come on, you got to get a thermometer. And when you use your thermometer, you make sure that you disinfect it first with some sort of sanitizing wipe. You just wipe it off, wave it so that that dries. Most of these things are alcohol-based, so they dry pretty fast. And you take the temperature in two different places. You can take the temperature back here at the top of the wing and in, okay? And then you can also take the temperature here at the thigh. You know, the thigh is almost always bloody. So you want to check the temperatures there to make sure that it's reached the 165 degrees. And those are the two best places. The breast is always going to be more cooked than the rest of the turkey. So if you take those two temperatures, that should work just fine. Okay, so now I'm ready to carve the turkey. Now some of you may be looking at me doing this and saying, hey, he's sharpening that on the steel wrong. You're supposed to do it this way. Well, I learned in the Boy Scouts that you never draw a knife towards your body. So I do it this way, and it works just fine. Okay, so the turkey. I like to pre-carve the turkey so that I can get it on a platter, put some foil over the top of it, and put it back into the oven to stay hot. Now, how long did it take to cook this? Generally, you figure about 15 to 20 minutes per pound. I use a technique, and I used it on this turkey, of starting with a 450-degree oven. As soon as I put the turkey in, I turned it down to 350. And then I basted after the first hour, and then every half hour after that. This is basically a joy of cooking